Group A, Italy, Switzerland, Turkey, Wales. Okay, I'll leave it to you to say. We always want to step back if we're Italy fans, but the reality is Italy have I think it's completely irrelevant, but Italy have historically done better when they go into tournaments not on a high.
Yep.
They're absolutely flying right now. They're really, really fun to watch. They're talented. They're progressive. They're proactive. The strongest area of the pitch, by far, is the midfield, which I think is something we've almost never seen in Italy side, Jules.
Yeah, that's right, Gab. And I think you're excited, and rightly so. And I think everybody in Italy should be excited. I think Mancini is doing a great job. They obviously had this really long, unbeaten run where they had time to build and build on confidence as well, on exactly how he wanted them to play. And when you look at that midfield, whether you go with Verratti, Jorginho, Locatelli, or Barella, or Rovella, you've got all those talents.
Rovella's not there, so
Rovella's not there.
Pellegrini
as well. All those different profiles that you can bring and pick from, depending on who you play against or what the game is offering you, or whatever. I think it's great. You've got the old guard at the back. I'm not sure how long Chiellini and Bonucci will play together.
So
but even that, you've got Bastoni behind. My only issue, is how far can you go without a prolific striker if Immobile, Belotti.
Okay, but tell me this. What is the logic, right? Okay, so Ciro Immobile, we look at him and we say he's not a prolific striker. But then you look at the last 4 years in Serie A, he scored a ton of goals. And you might come back, but it's Serie A, it's not the Premier League. It's fine, I don't care, it's not the Premier League. But he's still playing against better competition in Serie A than most of these international defenses he's going to face.
About Wales?
I would argue.
Because otherwise, he faced Demiral and Soyuncu against Turkey.
Okay, I'll give you...
And Akanji and... don't know who's going to play next to him for Switzerland. But
right, but there is the occasional good defense in Serie A as well. But what I'm saying is, he has scored a lot. He scored a ton of goals. This idea that he doesn't do it at international level is because he's missed a lot of goals in a lot of high-profile games for Italy. But I wonder, again, sample size and so on, if they create enough chances for him, you have to believe he's going to score. But I agree with you. The alternatives, Andrea Belotti, who was on a horrible team last year, didn't score a lot of goals, but works hard, and my man Jack Raspadori, who of course only made his debut the other day.
He's young.
So,
but you could go. I'm just wondering where the goal is going to come from, because you're going to create, and as we've seen, and I think there's a limit to how much Barella and Verratti can score. Certainly Verratti. And Jorginho's penalties. And then set pieces? Okay, but then who from your front three, again, whether that's Insigne, let's say Insigne, Immobile, and...
Chiesa
probably, will start up front. You will need a lot of goal as well, potentially from Chiesa and Insigne, if Immobile is not in that sort of striking form.
What I like about this is you have a lot of players who are not afraid to shoot and not to take responsibility. And that's something different that we have. In Italy in the past, it's always been, you're the star player. Okay, Mr. Totti, you shoot from wherever you want, as much as you want, and then everybody else will just go and win the ball back. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Those midfielders, they're young, they're not afraid to take responsibility. Chiesa's not afraid. Berardi's certainly not afraid. So we'll see how it goes. Turkey, on paper, looks to be perhaps the second best team in this group. Are you on board with that? Or is there a sense that perhaps Burak Yilmaz has had a fantastic season up front?
Yeah.
But he's older, and I think maybe that season took a lot out of him.
Yeah, maybe there's a bit of that, although he missed 2 months at the end of 2020. So he was not like a full... He had time to kind of rest a little bit, if you want. They're amongst my dark horses. I can really see them being a pain to play against because they're so solid defensively. And I remember when they beat France after the 2018 World Cup, and I know that was a long time ago already, but still, the idea is the same, and the core of the team is the same. Have a Soyuncu, Demiral, pair of centre halves is pretty good.
That's one of the best defensive partnerships.
Definitely, and
Kabak better than Italy's. I think.
Yeah, potentially as well. Having
better than France's too, maybe.
Come on, let's behave here. But you've got players like Yazici who can create. You've got good fullbacks. You've got Burak Yilmaz. You've got Cengiz Ünder probably on the bench. Enes Ünal as well. So I think you've got talent everywhere. And there will be a team that are solid. And that's what they do. They're solid. They're so aggressive. They're in your face all the time. And I think everybody will hate to play against them.
That solidity is something that in the past with Turkey has been missing because they have been a little bit, especially emotionally, up and down. Switzerland, on the other hand, have been super solid historically.
Yeah.
I look at this. There are a number of quality players. There's a very smart manager in Pekovic.
Yeah.
And if they start out with a win against Wales, I don't think, and you assume that with 4 points, you have a good chance of going through.
Definitely.
I think they can feel pretty good about their chances.
I think you're right. And we will talk in a bit about the Belgium golden generation. This is very similar with this Switzerland squad because you've got some good youngsters coming through, but it's still the Chakas and Shakiris and, Sommer and people like that who've carried that team all the way with Petkovic. Petkovic has been a manager for, 10 years or something. So it feels almost like this could be the last time we see them all together before there's some changes and newcomers and rotation. But they've got the experience. They've got really good players, Seferovic. I mean, this is a proper team.
You really like Seferovic, don't you?
I like Seferovic, but
look
again,
at this.
he's not as prolific as he should be in terms of how much chances he gets and how many goals he scores. But on a good day, in a good tournament, he can easily score you 4 or 5.
I wonder what somebody like Remo Freuler, who's obviously been so
Yeah.
good for Atalanta, what he can
course.
bring into this midfield. He hasn't, for a guy, I think he's 29 now, he doesn't have as many caps as you would expect for a guy. He's a bit of a late bloomer, perhaps. Wales, you're making a face.
I have to talk nicely about them because of Mrs. Lawrence. So.
Clearly, the run-up to this to this tournament with, you lose your manager and Ryan Giggs, who's not just your manager, he is one of the iconic figures of Welsh football, because he's facing very serious criminal charges.
Yeah.
And you can Google those if you like. You've got Bale, who hasn't played very much the last couple of years, in and out. You always have the injury specter. You always have the injury specter with Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah.
Those are probably their two most gifted players. It doesn't feel like we're going to get a rerun of 2016, does it?
I hope we do, because I think it was a wonderful story and the fans are great and Mrs. L was happy. It's just that Bale carried them for most of that Euro 2016. He carried them. He was amazing. I was at Lens for the game against England. I was in Lille for the game against Belgium. They were great. And I think once they started winning, they got that momentum, that confidence that they could beat anyone on their day like they did with Belgium. Portugal was a step too high, but in the semis. But the problem is Bale is not the Bale that he was in 2016. He can have good moments, of course, and he might score goals, of course, but it's just not the same. So as much as it pains me to say, I think they will struggle certainly to do exactly the same that they did in 2016.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.